What's going on, Excel fanatics? Verdexes here, opening another Microsoft learning tutorial. We've gone over in the past, we went over an intro to PivotTables. This is a sequel, so to speak, where it's telling us to get more out of our pivot tables. That sounds good. So I already downloaded it, haven't looked at it yet. Good to know. Did you take the first tutorial? Yes, we have. Thank you for checking. All right, let's go. In the first tutorial, we introduced you to the concept of a pivot table. We also explained how a row field can be used as a condition that breaks up a value field. So how a row field, right, so down here would be the buyer, used as a condition. So using that with the amount, I think is what that is implying. But when you first look at a pivot table, you might find that you need more answers out of it. So when did these purchases happen? What did each person spend money on? What did mom buy that was so expensive? Yeah, mom. I guess that's it for this page. These are all good questions, but for the moment, let's just focus on one question. What did each person spend money on? We answered that question by adding a column field. As a result, the pivot table now has 5 new columns that show us the type of purchase made by each person. So notice how we had in the prior one, we had just the buyer. These are all the column names of the data set, by the way, or the database table, whatever you want to call it. These are all column names. So they're putting everything in a row for who's labeled as a buyer, Dad, Kelly, and Mom. And now they inserted the type into the columns, right? So if we actually put, what we can also do, I know I'm getting ahead of myself, but if we can actually drag where it says type under columns, we could throw that underneath and you'll see the types filter, kind of categorize under each of the buyers. This isn't supposed to happen. This isn't very clear looking. I don't think they wanted me to do that, so I'm going to put that back. But that's just another example of you kind of being able to freely use a pivot table as you need. But the column, the types here, so the food, music, sports, tickets, and gifts, that all appears here. And the value field is broken up even further. So now it kind of makes it clear, because all these add up, right? So this is 220. So now we know Dad bought food and gifts. Mom, let's find out what Mom bought. 560 was for food and 250 for tickets. So that's an example of how you would break that down. If the pivot table is hard to understand, try this. Read from the left, then from the top, and then down. The example below is for Dad, but it worked for Kelly or Mom too. So Dad, starting from the left, spent this much on food, right, 125, spent this much on gifts, right, and then spent a total of 220, right? Okay, right, so that's just kind of like what I highlighted previously. So so you would just kind of, the way that this is set up, that would be correct as a good way to tell. I honestly, if you really wanted to know, you could also do that. But again, that it doesn't want to look clean for me, I think, just because the way the template is set up as a tutorial style, so I'm just going to follow instructions. So how did we make the column field? We dragged the type field down to the columns area in the pivot tables list, right? Okay, so just to go back, say if we didn't have type selected, right? So what they did, they literally just dragged, like how I showed you dragging over here. You literally can just drag and bring it, and that fills in for you. So that's what this screenshot is highlighting. Down to a minute. Okay, click inside the pivot below. Do you see the pivot table field on the right? Yes. If you don't see it, if you ever don't see the tab, you can actually go to Analyze when you have a pivot table, and this field list is how you get that to pop in and out if you ever need to. In the pivot table, drag the type field into the columns area like we did. Pivot table below should automatically expand, which it did. Alright, cool. I don't think I really have enough time going into the next video, but this is all really good stuff to understand with the pivot table, so I'm going to finish this up for you guys in a part 2. I don't know, it probably would finish up by then, but who knows. But thanks so much for watching, guys. I will finish this up in the next video, and I will see you then.